G'day, my fellow media collectors. I'm Troy, and today we're looking at Lightspeed is a live-action superhero film that was produced by Power Entertainment for the Sci Fi Channel and had its television premiere on the 22nd of June 2006 on the Sci Fi Channel. This movie was released under the Stan Lee Presents banner, which is a series of direct-to-DVD films distributed by Power Entertainment with Anchor Bay Entertainment in association. The concept was by Stan Lee with the script by John J. Gray and Steve Latshaw, and the project reflects Stan Lee's later career efforts to create new heroes outside of the Marvel brand for a new generation of fans. This DVD has a runtime of 90 minutes. This DVD was released on the 9th of January 2007. And it was distributed by Anchor Bay Studio. The story follows Daniel Leight, who is a top agent in a secret government group called Ghost Squad. During a mission, a building collapses with Daniel in it, which was set up by Python, a half-mutant man, half-snake terrorist who used to be his friend. When Python sabotages Daniel's radiation treatment, it unexpectedly gives him the power to move at super speed. Taking the name Lightspeed, Daniel must stop Python and his evil plans to take over the world. Now, the script for this film is a textbook example of trying to do a classic superhero story, but with the constraints of a very, very low budget, immediately turning this disaster into a painfully awkward attempt to cash in on the superhero wave that was at that time by delivering 90 minutes of slow pacing, low effort, and even lower entertainment value. Look, it really suffers from some big plot holes and some pacing issues, let's just say, with the script rushing through a lot of key development points, like Daniel's transformation into Lightspeed feels a bit abrupt, and the science behind his powers is very vague and barely explained. And let's not forget his backstory involving him and his former friend turned enemy. That could have, it really could have added some much emotional conflict, but instead the script, mate, it just glosses over their history, reducing Python to this very generic villain that could have been a meaningful adversary, but really wasn't. The only slightly interesting idea was Lightspeed's powers, where it was damaging his body when he kind of overused it, and it just goes completely underused. Instead of exploring the cost of the power, the script just really drops the occasional warning or gives himself an injection, which reduces what could be a very compelling character-driven dilemma into almost like a minor inconvenience than a weakness to overcome. The script speeds past quality and stumbles at every turn to give us the most generic and lifeless superhero film I know I have seen in a while. And for that, and look, it is lucky it gets this, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 30. So this film is not an adaptation of any comic book property out there, and Lightspeed is an original superhero concept created by Stan Lee, specifically for television and direct-to-DVD. And it was part of a series of films under the Stan Lee Presents banner. Now, from what I could find out about this film, it was probably the actual first piece of content that Power Entertainment had released before Mosaic and the Condor animated films. Now, from my research as well, I can't really find anything concrete to even say that Stan had any real input into the project other than being a executive producer on this. But from all accounts, he's supposed to have come up with the idea for this hero under the Stan Lee Presents banner, but I can't confirm that.
I guess we'll never know.
Now, when it comes to the, how can I put it, ambition versus budget, I think we'll have to give them a little credit in their attempt to tackle this very big concept superhero narrative with almost no resources or money available. As you can tell straight away, the CGI is bargain bin type stuff. The action scenes are sluggish, and the costume design looks like he bought it off a Halloween clearance rack.
Cheap suit, no one's gonna believe that.
It feels more like a fan film than a professionally done production. But for me, the one and only standout in this production actually was Python the bad guy. He actually didn't look too bad at all, but I'm afraid he was the only thing that was okay across the board.
Well, that's legitimately disappointing.
Now, the cast, I'll just grab them from here. And as you can see, the cast list here is probably no one you've ever heard of, except for Lee Majors, who you might remember from the $6 Million Man or the Fall Guy TV shows, if you're of a certain age, like me.
How old are you? Old enough.
And we also have the star of the movie, Jason Connery, as Daniel Leight, aka Lightspeed. And what's that? That last name sounds familiar. Well, guess what? You might be right, as Jason is the son of Sean Connery. Yes, that Sean Connery. But Jason did not inherit his old man's acting talent. I'll tell you that for sure. As Jason brings the charisma of a damp sponge to this role of a would-be superhero and delivers every line like he's reading out loud from a prescription label. His acting is flat, his delivery is monotone, and his emotional range is somewhere between mildly awake and slightly annoyed.
I'm nothing like Dad.
Now we have Nicole Eggert as Beth Baker, who is the token love interest here, and honestly, you get more chemistry out of watching two mannequins in a department store window than these pair together. Her performance is below average at best, offering nothing beyond the occasional concerned glance or awkward line reading. It's clear the script didn't give her much, which is fair, but even with more to do, I kind of be pretty doubtful she could even do anything with it. Daniel Goodard as the villain Python is the only one who seems to realise he's actually in a comic book movie, which means he dials it up to 11, but it's not much of a performance though, as it's kind of like this guy's in this cosplay contest gone rogue, as he hisses and snarls through the scenes like a rejected Power Rangers villain, chewing up the scenery with the enthusiasm of someone who's trying to shine at a high school play. Now look, last but not least, we have the legend Lee Majors as Tanner. Now unfortunately, he appears to be reading cue cards taped to the wall behind the camera like he was on a soap opera. His screen presence is the cinematic equivalent of someone phoning it in on a landline. And look, that's about all I can say, sadly. The acting in Lightspeed is a masterclass in how not to perform. And look, wooden, lifeless, and completely lacking in any superhero spark. This cast proves that you can get, well look, yeah, you get what you pay for, and on a shoestring budget, yeah, you don't really get much at all, do you? Anyway, look, the best I could do for this is probably a 3 out of 20. Okay, as we look at the disc and case, okay, this one actually looks a little better. Mind you, he doesn't actually look like that in the movie, so it's a bit of a red herring there, shall we say. But it's a step up from the last ones that were just logos. There's the side, and there's the back. A little bit more effort, but it's still pretty average at best. And as we look at the sides, inside, sorry, there's the disc, just the cover, no real insert. This version might look a little different. I got a Dutch version. That was probably the best version I could get. I couldn't get a hold of a US version for just too expensive. But anyway, yeah. So overall, look, it's okay. Might be slightly better than the others, but it's still nothing fantastic. And look, the best I could probably do is maybe a 5 out of 10. So there are no special features on this DVD, which kind of surprises me, as even the last two movies, Mosaic and The Condor, had something, even if it was just Stan introducing the characters and the like. I think that even though they weren't great on those last ones, it still would have been nice to hear what Stan had to say about this project. But I think, on the other hand, this brings more weight to my theory that Stan had little to nothing to do with this project at all. But that's just me sort of surmising that all he did was put his name to it, and that was it.
And I got a paper trail to prove it. Check this out. Take a look at this. Jesus Christ.
Who knows? Look, anyway, as you know the drill, because there's no special features, you know what score we're going to get. That's right. 0 out of 10. As I bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scorecard, as you can see, the critics came in at, nothing. No, well, no surprise there. And the audience score came in at 7%. F me. Jeez. Jesus Christ, that is small. God, there was only one critic review, and as you know, that is not enough to get a score. And don't worry, it wasn't a good one, that's for sure. And as far as the audience goes, well, it was about 250 people. And just like the critic, they weren't good reviews either. I don't think I saw one person actually give this movie a good review in the comments section. They were brutal, to say the least. God, 7%. Oh, I can't get over that. Anyway, as I only have one score and we round it out, it barely gets, oh Jesus, a 1 out of 10. So with 2 down on this list, this was the last one to go of the Stan Lee Presents movies. And oh boy, did I leave the worst till last. My God, this thing was
the worst thing I have ever seen.
It's kind of sitting somewhere between a very, very low budget TV movie and a fan-made movie. I mean, this movie is lacking in so many things across the board, giving you
One big pile of shit.
like literally no emotional investment in the movie or story at all. As look, there is no real connection to the characters, no genuine tension, no surprises, and the story is just so predictable and uninspired. It feels like more of an obligation than entertainment, if you know what I mean. It's a sad piece of content that is attached to one of the greats, and it's clear this was nothing more than trying to cash in on Stan Lee's name yet again.
Come on, we can't keep doing this.
This film was supposed to rocket launch the new superhero franchise that was the Stan Lee's Presents, but instead this thing crashed harder than a Elon Musk SpaceX rocket ship, that's for sure.
Failure, sir. Utter failure.
I don't have a lot to say about this film at all, really. And this thing, the only fast thing about this film is how quickly you'll want to turn it off. I mean, it is just woeful, and for that it's going to get a woeful score, and that is 2 out of 20. Now, as far as availability goes, I'm actually putting this at a 5 out of 5, as it's not as common as the other two, Condor and Mosaic, but you will have to search around on eBay if you want to find it. As far as collectability goes, this is definitely a 1 out of 5. You do not need this piece of garbage in your collection. For the average price, you are looking at somewhere between the $15 to $45 mark for DVD. So as I always say, it does pay to shop around if you want it. Let's go to the scorecard and see how this one shapes up. Now, the final score, we get a grand total of 14 out of 100. Ooh, that's an absolute terrible score for an absolute terrible movie that actually sullies the great legacy of Stan Lee. And with all of the iconic things he has accomplished in his life, I am afraid that this will not be one of them.
Needs to be erased from the earth!
Next week on the show, we are going to look at my collection update for July 2025. So I can't wait to show you what I picked up for that month. So make sure you come back and check that out. Thanks for watching.